Hi, my name's Jim Ogilvie. I'm the sports store technician at CFB Halifax Dockyard Gym, the Fleet Gym. Also, I'm the PGA of Canada teaching professional here at the Heartland Point Forces Golf Course. I'm here today with our sports store coordinator, Isaac Habib, and we're going to talk a little bit about the golf swing, some faults, some fixes that I see. We're going to focus today probably on the driver and your irons. I've been a PGA teaching professional and PGA professional for 34 years and have taught various levels of golfer from beginner all the way up through advanced. So we're going to start out first with your basic fundamentals, and what we're going to start out first with is your grip and how you hold the golf club. So what I like to see is you want to have your grip holding it in the fingers of your hands, okay? You want to get set up, get the club in a position like this, turn your hand over here, and holding it in the fingers. What we want to do is, with Isaac as the camera, if that was the target there, you want to have your back of your left hand going towards the target. With your right hand, again, you want to have it in your fingers, and you want to have the palm of your right hand going towards the target. Now, it would be vice versa if you're a left-hander. So a lot of time in my teaching, I will talk your top hand, your bottom hand with regard to the grip, or your lead side, which is the side that's closest to the target, or trail side, which is the side that's further away from the target. So with that, you get the club holding it more in the fingers. And a lot of times grips that I'll see hands turn too much this way here, hands too much underneath here. What that tends to happen is when you take the club back, you're going to get a closed club face at the top of the backswing. And when as you come through, the club face is turned down. A lot of times you may top the ball or smother hook the ball. Also, what I see sometimes is when we set up is, and you can see a better angle of it right here if I turn around, is getting the hand too much on top with the right hand here. What that does, it moves the right arm and right elbow too far away from the target. So when you come down, you're more like this in this position here, and you get yourself kind of cutting across the ball. We want to get those hands in a good relaxed position here, hands and arms, and let the hands and arms just hang naturally from your body here. Another thing that I see too often, and I'll come over around this side here, is getting your hands and arms up in a position like this here, reaching for the ball too much, okay? So what we want to do, again, is just let your hands and arms hang naturally, get in a good posture position, let your backside stick out a little bit, get a little bit of flex in your knees, let your hands and arms just hang naturally from your body. As it's doing that, and another question I get is, how far should I be from the golf ball? I get that question with regard to pitching wedges, drivers, 5-irons, hybrids. This is a great exercise right here to teach you the proper distance to be away from the ball. So when you set up, you take your setup position, take your bottom hand off the club, let it hang naturally from the shoulder. When you come down, it should go right back to where it's properly positioned on the grip. If you're reaching for the ball too much and it gets out here in this position here, see how it hangs and misses here. Okay, what that's going to do is that's going to inhibit your weight shift going back and then your weight shift going through. If it's too close to you here, it's going to miss it in this position here. Okay, so we'll come up to the golf ball here. So I've got an alignment stick on the ground. One of the big things also that I see with regard to all levels of golfers, even low handicaps, is their alignment, or where am I aimed. So what you want to first and foremost do is you want to get your club face set, have it in behind the ball. Okay, we've got a red flag out there. It's pretty foggy here today. So I'm going to get that set. Then I want to get my feet, knees, hips, shoulders going parallel to that. Basically, one of the best adages in golf still is if the ball's on one set of train tracks and you're standing on the other set. Okay, so that's what we want to do. And sometimes I might fight that a little bit with my alignment, getting myself a little bit aimed at the target. So once we get set up, let the hands and arms just hang naturally. You've got your backside out. We want to have the backside out because when we turn back, we have to have somewhere for the hands and arms to swing down into this position here. I see this especially with lady golfers, is what will happen is you'll have your seat tucked in a little bit too much, okay? And what ends up happening, the club comes up, it kind of chops down on the ball. We want to make sure we get the backside out in a good position here. Let the hands and arms hang naturally. Also with this position here, you just want to feel like we're taking the club back here, nice and low and slow. And swing through to the full finish here. Okay. So one thing to focus on is your address position when you're set up. Your bottom hand is lower on the golf club than your top hand. So what we want to have, and I see this again quite often, is when people set up to the ball, they'll try to get their shoulders level, like this here. Because your bottom hand is lower on the club, what we need to do is we've got to have our trail shoulder for the right-handed golfer, your right shoulder, for the left-handed golfer, the left, is in a little bit of a tilt position here. Okay, by having it in a little bit of a tilt position, you're able to turn back, get your shoulder in behind the ball and your knee in behind the ball here. Okay, into this position here. Now, through the years of playing golf and a few injuries, unfortunately, I can't turn back as well as some of you watching here, but I'm going to give you a couple tips and a couple drills to work on to get into that position there. The other thing is, when you finish your golf swing, too often when we get set up here, I'll see somebody get set up and they'll come back, they'll get to this position here, and they'll fall back here, like this. The club gets coming from the outside here, which leaves the club face open, and the path of the club comes across your body. It means you're going to slice it more often than not. The other thing is, if we hang back on it a little bit too far, you're going to end up topping the ball. Okay? So if I come into this position here, and we fall back like this here. Now take a look at where our chest is. Our chest is way behind the ball in this position here. Okay? Now that means you're going to hit a lot of top shots, you're going to lead a lot of slices. If you have real good hands, you might flip it over and hit some duck hooks. Okay? Where we need to get you is once you've made a good turn back into this position here, you want to get the feel like you're loading weight into your front foot. As that's happening, the club is starting to work down, and this hip is rotating in through to this position here. And your hands coming close to your body, and the club head is working out to the ball in this position here. Okay? When you get into here, and then at impact will be more like into this position here. Note where my chest is, my head, as opposed to being back here like this and falling back on it. Okay, so we'll take a look at it from this line too. Getting here. So if I get back and I turn back into a good position here, weight comes down here, I'm putting it into my front foot. I'm starting to rotate this hip here, and the club head moves out towards the ball. Okay. For those of you who watch a lot of golf on TV, the down the line look that we're filming right now, really notice whether it's LPGA players or PGA players, their left butt cheek, okay, or for the left-handers, your right butt cheek. When they're coming down and coming through, that lead butt cheek or the left butt cheek has moved in behind here. So a lot of times when they turn their hips and rotate their hips, they're in this position here. I put the club back on the ball, I've got a good head position, my shaft's in a good position here, and we're swinging through.
some things that a lot of teachers don't talk about is where the low point is in the golf swing. Well, the low point for a driver is behind the ball, a couple inches behind the ball. When we talk about irons, we're going to talk about the low point in your golf swing is in front of the golf ball, and we'll discuss that in a second here. So we're going to get set up here again. Good finish. Nice little fade on that one. One other thing to help you with your through swing and your finish position that we talked about there is I always ask my students, what's their favorite beverage? No matter if it's a junior right up through 80-year-old individuals who I teach. And the reason I ask that is when you finish your swing, when you go through, we want to be able to balance your favorite beverage on your back foot. Okay? So I can get set up here. If I swing flat-footed, look what happens. Okay? A low shot. Or you can end up topping it. So if I get back here and I keep all my weight here, back here like this, we're in that position there. So the thought process is, okay, as far as the through swing, get through to a nice balanced finish position. A little bit left, but making sure that you're balancing that beverage on your back foot there. Okay. So Isaac, maybe we'll get you around this side over here.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite beverage?
My favorite beverage is chocolate milk, Isaac.
Nice.
And Bud Light. So a couple drills to work on with your driver. So I've got an alignment stick right here on the ground. So what I want to do is to help with your turn when you come back. Ball position basically, I'd like to see off your armpit here in this position. I talk upper body with regard to ball position as opposed to lower body, because it could vary if I have my stance open or my stance closed. I set up more off your lead armpit in this position here. You can see how I have my little bit of a tilt right here. Okay, and the ball position may vary if you don't shift your weight that well. You know, it may be back in your stance a little bit. Okay, but we get it more in this position here. Now when we come back, the thought for the takeaway, and there's a lot of information we're covering, so you know, we won't want to think everything all at once, but we're touching on different things that may help you in your golf game. What I'm thinking of with regard to when I take the club back is I want to keep my club face looking at the ball for as long as possible. If I do that, I've got it in a good position here. So if I come back here and I keep it looking at the ball for as long as possible here, I'm in a good position right here. Too often what I see when we come back is the club gets taken inside here. And then it gets from here, and then it gets kind of lifted up where it gets here. And then usually the tendency is to kind of throw the club out like that. So keeping that club head looking at the ball for as long as possible. As we come back, getting a good turn, feeling like my shoulder has turned underneath my chin, my knee has moved in behind the ball, and I've got the majority of my weight, say about 70-75%, on the inside of my trail foot, and that weight is more towards the heel. Okay? When we come down into this position here, as we're starting down again, we're putting weight into the front foot. We're starting to turn the hips as the club comes down into the ball. Okay? Now, one of the bigger things I see is when people come down, we'll talk about the hands and arms a little bit. With the hands and arms, when you're coming down, you want to get the feeling like the club is coming down. The left arm, with your left arm or your lead arm, it's going to feel very much like they're extending going through the ball, almost like you're going to throw a frisbee out there. With your right arm, it's going to feel like you're going to throw a ball side arm and underhand through into this position here. Now, as we're doing that, okay, we're still getting that rotation and that turn, getting through into this position here. So if I was going to throw a ball underhanded with my right arm, I'm going to come here and I'm going to turn back and I'm going to throw it out like that. Too often what I see in the golf swing is when you come down and people do this. Okay? So they're throwing the club, coming down too steep and into the ground. So this is a great drill for you to learn how to kind of turn, and then you're going to throw it sidearm underneath and through. Take you through to a good finished position there. Set up here. Now, with the driver, one of the other things that we talk about is catching it more on the upswing. Feeling like we talked about the low point briefly is in behind the ball here. So we want to get the feeling like the club is ascending as we're coming through. So a good little exercise for this is one I learned from Butch Harmon, who used to be Tiger Woods' teacher. You kind of set up to the ball, get your posture position here, then you drop your lead foot back a bit here. And do some practice swings before you actually hit balls. You're going to swing back into this position here, and as you're coming down and coming through, you want to get the feeling like the club head is swinging up as it's coming through the ball. It's almost like, say, if there's a little bit of a ramp there, and that club head is coming here and through. And for the first few shots, you know, it's going to be awkward where you're hitting the ball. You know, you may end up pulling it, topping it, but you just want to work on those feels and developing those feels. Okay? Okay, so that was a good one. Nice high little fade. Okay, we'll hit one more here. That's a great drill right there for getting you to get the feel and the sense of catching it more on the upswing. A second drill for you is we talk about the hands and arms and the body working together. So what you want to do with this drill, this is called a straight line release drill. You're going to take a golf ball, you're going to put it out about 4 feet on your target line. Okay. As we come down, again, these are some of the faults that I see. Is individuals who come down kind of too steep on the ball like this here. What ends up happening is the path of the club is coming from outside in, and you pull your arms in towards your body. As you pull your arms in towards your body, notice how they kind of widen. The elbows kind of widen as you're coming through, okay, into this position here. And that leads to a lot of top shots, slices, shots that kind of may even duck hook if you've got the face really closed. So what we want to do with this exercise here is you want to start out with your smaller swings. And I've actually used these drills, and a drill in my teaching is hitting chip shots with the driver. So when you set up, you just take the club back about halfway here. When we go through, you still want to feel that hip rotating and that left butt cheek or your front butt cheek turning behind you in this manner. As that's happening, the club head's working out to the ball. If the club head is working in towards your feet, you're not going to hit solid golf shots. The club head has to work more out towards the ball. Now, as we come here, we're coming back, getting it into a good position here. When we come through, what we're looking for when we make contact with the ball here is that your club head is out pointing at that other ball here, and the club shaft here is pointing back at your belly. Okay? So if I pull the club in like this, notice how it's coming in towards my feet? And now, if I'm in this position here, my arms have widened, and the club head is pointing over here. Okay? So I'm just going to hit a couple here, just with that little bit of a chip drill here. And a lot of times, what's going to happen is you're not going to be able to stop it right at the ball, just because of the speed of the swing. Now, so if I bring that down from here, I'm right here in this position here. So I've got good extension. If you get that good extension, a lot of times you're going to get that good rotation of the hip, and have that left butt cheek feeling like it's turning behind you. Okay. So set up. We'll go into the full swing here. That was a real good one, Isaac. That might have been the best one of the day, but so one more thing.
Hopefully I got it.
So one more thing with regard to and helping you is your shoulders on the backswing. You want to get a little bit of a tilt. So you want to take a golf club, put it across your collarbone here once you get set up. Get in your golf posture, rear end out, slight flexing your knees. Okay, my stance is a little bit more than shoulder width with the driver. I tend to play with a little bit narrower stance. When we come back, what we want to do is we want to feel like when we come back, we turn. Okay, our shoulders behind the ball. Our lead shoulder, our lead knee is behind the ball. Weight has kind of come back on this foot here, on the inside of that trail foot, the right foot into this position here. Okay, then on the downswing when we're coming down is the feeling like we're putting weight into that front foot. Feel like we're clearing and turning, and when we come through, we're in this position here where we're facing our target, and the back foot is in that position here, balancing your favorite beverage. Okay, when you top it, you may say, I lifted my head. You sky it with an iron shot, you chunk it, you top it. It's lifting the head. More often than not, it is not lifting your head. It is usually, a lot of times, you're pulling your arms in. When you pull your arms in, the club arc it's either going to bottom out behind the ball and you're going to hit it heavy, or it's going to start to rise and you end up topping it. Okay, so with regard to that, that's some driver faults and fixes, and a few drills for you to work on. So what we're going to do next is we're going to talk about irons.